Will Volkswagen get more people to drive lemons? Is Spotify redefining what it means to listen to a radio station? Are the four companies that run the economy, Facebook, Amazon, Apple, and Google, about to look a whole lot smaller? We'll look at these topics and more at the intersection of business and culture. Disruptive FM. Let's do this.
It's Disruptive FM. Disruptive FM. Disruptive FM. Welcome to Disruptive FM, where business and culture collide. Sponsored by Microsoft and Branding Strategy Insider. With your host, Jeffrey Colon.
Okay, here we go.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Disruptive FM, episode 46 for the week ending Friday, June the 7th. I'm Jeffrey Colon, and I'll be your guide for the next 15 minutes or so as we look at some new developments in marketing, tech, media, and popular culture. Here we go.
Here are this week's trending topics. Electric lemon.
Volkswagen has a new advertisement which seems to be making noise. A few years ago, the company literally was cheating. It was saying emissions of its cars were a lot lower than they truly were. And as a result of this scandal, it has supposedly led to a transformation for the entire company. The world's largest automaker has been on something of an apology tour since 2015, when it was publicly accused of using illegal software in its diesel cars to dupe pollution tests. The company was slammed with criminal charges, lawsuits, and billions of dollars in government fines. With the new marketing push, the company wants to move on from its self-inflicted wounds. In the print and video ads released in the United States just this last week, Volkswagen nods to the scandal before shifting focus to its coming line of electric vehicles and other projects. Communication experts said the company might have a hard time bringing skeptics on board as it tries to pull off this U-turn. In one of the new commercials, snippets of news broadcasts about the scandal are followed by the strains of Simon and Garfunkel's The Sounds of Silence and the appearance of a Volkswagen employee swathed in shadow who is meant to represent the company's soul searching. Eventually, a glowing Volkswagen ID Buzz, an electric minivan planned for production in 2022, cuts through the gloom. The video ends with these words: "In darkness, we found the light." The Rebirth campaign was designed by the agency Johannes Leonardo, which counts Adidas and Google amongst its clients. The commercial will run for a few weeks before giving way to a series of ads meant to hammer home the notion that a company recently caught cheating is now embracing environmentalism and setting aside what it calls self-interest. The new Volkswagen campaign does not go into the internal cultural deficiencies that enabled the cheating, such as a hierarchical structure that discouraged whistleblowing. But the company's willingness to refer to the scandal at all in its marketing is a sign that Volkswagen's culture is changing. The automaker is planning a $50 billion escalation of its electric fleet, with 22 million battery-powered vehicles scheduled for production through 2028. Before the emissions uproar, Volkswagen had been lagging its competitors in developing zero-emission vehicles. As part of a 2016 settlement with the federal government, the company agreed to spend $2 billion on electric vehicle infrastructure. Could this truly be the story about brand transformation and purpose, or simply another lemon? Only time will tell.
Trending topics on DFM. Stations.
Spotify is trying to make Pandora, which is part of Sirius XM, obsolete. How? By launching a radio stations app. The new app, in contrast to the existing Spotify app, doesn't allow users to play songs on demand. Rather, it's positioned as more of a music discovery tool. Users can create stations based on artists they enjoy or picking specific genres. Like Pandora and similar to the existing radio feature in Spotify, users can thumb up songs they like and thumb down songs they aren't into. Over time, the playlists become more personalized, and if all goes according to plan, should serve up songs more in tune with your music sensibilities. I played around with the app for a bit, and overall it seems pretty slick. The interface is intuitive and lends itself toward music exploration without some of the clutter that can sometimes accompany the standalone Spotify app. The music recommendations, they're pretty good, though likely not uniquely different from what one would find in the Spotify app itself. What's particularly cool is that users can seamlessly hop back and forth between concurrent playlists and pick up right where a song left off. But let's be honest, what this app lacks is personality. Music is great, but when you don't have humans acting as curators, using their voices on an audio-driven platform, who you identify with and create emotional connection with, well, what are you driving here? To be truly a station, I'd love if this actually featured some chit-chat from people giving background on the music and artists. Well, sort of like a radio station before radio stations were overtaken by nothing but ads.
Trending topics on DFM. The Little Four.
The big four of Facebook, Amazon, Apple, and Google control everything. If we are to believe Scott Galloway, professor at NYU Stern Business School and author of the book The Four. But as of late, it appears that the United States Department of Justice wants to have a say on this matter, and they are aiming at all four of these companies to testify. The big one making noise has to be Google, which the DOJ has been asking around 12 companies to testify about in terms of antitrust, monopoly, competitive threat exercises. So what if Google were to be broken up? It seems unlikely, but we're in the world of speculation here at DFM. And we, of course, turn to the experts to ask their opinions on these matters. And the best person to help shed some light on this is none other than Ginny Marvin, editor-in-chief of Search Engine Land, who we caught up with in person last week at Search Marketing Expo Advanced in Seattle, Washington. Here's a bit of that conversation.
What's it going to look like from an advertiser standpoint if things start to change? I mean, I think it's the fun scenario of envisioning what happens if there are breakups. And again, huge caveat on that. I'm skeptical that anything will happen. If it does, it's going to take years. But the what ifs are always fun, right? So I think that kind of thing is going to be really interesting because to some extent, the conglomeration that we've had, with Facebook and Instagram, Google, YouTube, DoubleClick, it's reduced friction for marketers, which then kind of instills some laziness. And so it's easy to just upload, press, go, and you've got scale, you've got reach, and everyone's seemingly happy. Meanwhile, there are these pockets of opportunity in many other channels that get ignored because there's friction. So the marketers that take the time and get through that friction, and a lot of the platforms, Microsoft is one of them, has tried really hard to reduce that friction, understanding that that's a pain point. But I think the smart marketers are the ones who are already thinking across platforms and seeing pockets. And so those marketers are going to be at an advantage regardless. They're going to be at an advantage if something happens from a data standpoint. They're going to be at an advantage if something happens from a breakup standpoint. And I think even if nothing changes, they're going to be an advantage.
That was Ginny Marvin, editor-in-chief of Search Engine Land, in a discussion I had with her at Search Marketing Expo Advanced in Seattle, Washington last week about what happens if Google is broken up.
It's Disruptive FM.
Communications.
The Business Culture Podcast.
They say if you listen closely, you can hear the sound of today.
It's Disruptive FM, the culture of business. I'm Jeffrey Colon. We would love to connect with you. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Disruptive FM. And you can connect with me personally on Twitter or Instagram at DJGEOFFE. Big shout out to our sponsors, Microsoft Advertising and Branding Strategy Insider. For For more in-depth analysis of some of our topics here, visit MicrosoftAdvertising.ai and BrandingStrategyInsider.com. DFM is also sponsored by iOgrapher. Help you to create better video. iOgrapher makes accessories for your mobile devices so you can make professional quality videos. Check out all their great products at iOgrapher.com.
I don't know what I can do.
In the background, that's new music from Tom Chubb and a track called I Don't Know What I Can Do. It's the Blind Bee remix. It's out now on Huge Music.
I don't know what I can do for you.
You can listen to the whole track on Spotify. We'll include a link in the description for this episode.
And now, Disruptive FM presents...
What kind of shit is that?
Come on!
For 2 years, Vox Media's Carlos Maza has been the target of homophobic and racist abuse from a right-wing YouTuber with 3 million subscribers. On Tuesday, the online video giant informed Maza that the abuse does not violate its policies. The decision, laid out by YouTube in 4 succinct tweets, come on, means the platform will permit Steve Crowder to continue his harassment and bullying of Maza. YouTube and Crowder are also set to continue monetizing the abusive videos, which feature ads from the likes of the Trump campaign, VH1, and Monday.com. Last week, Maza called out the abuse in a supercut of comments Crowder has made on his popular YouTube channel in the past 2 years. They include Lispy Sprite, Little Queer, Mr. Gay Vox, Mr. Lispy Queer from Vox, an Angry Little Queer, Gay Mexican, and Gay Latino from Vox. Crowder fans responded by directing more abuse at Maza on other platforms, including Instagram and Twitter. They also posted his cell phone number online. YouTube's own policies forbid hate speech, which it defines as content promoting violence or hatred against individuals or groups based on things like race, sexuality, nationality, and immigration status. If you think that is awful, what's worse is YouTube changed its logo colors to reflect Pride Month, not seeing the hypocrisy of its own policies, which don't protect marginalized groups. And when you have a bunch of adults, wait a minute, we mean children, running $1 billion business that don't understand harassment because they themselves have never been harassed, we have the animals running the zoo. It's plain and simple. YouTube isn't a community forum. It's a money-making machine. That means the corporate entity sets the policies of what they want and don't want on their platform. But money talks and bullshit walks. And even though they will appear as if they support pride and support non-harassing policies, the only thing that really seems to matter is the monetization of the content for revenue. Caring about people first, whatever. And to this, we say a big, loud, and proud.
What? Come on!
Here's a glimpse of some stories bubbling on the edges. It's a segment we call On the Radar.
Here's what's on our radar. Number 1.
The gap between job openings and available workers in the U.S. is the biggest it's ever been. April data from the Labor Department show 1.6 million more jobs than unemployed people, a potential drag on the growth as companies search for, but fail to find, the help they need. The month also saw the most hires on record, according to CNBC, with 5.9 million taking new positions. Quits also rose, with 3.4 million voluntarily leaving their jobs, a sign of worker confidence in employment prospects.
Number 2.
What started as renting a designer dress for a wedding has burgeoned into an industry where you can rent anything under the sun, including tents, Vitamix blenders, vacuums, and even Oculus Rifts. Some are calling this the Gilded Age of renting, and says that what once was a convenience is now considered trendy. Companies offering rental services often cater to young professionals who are bouncing around between cities and apartments and who don't want to be burdened with the permanence of ownership.
Number 3.
Is it the end of the power lunch? The Four Seasons restaurant in New York City, said to be the birthplace of the power lunch, is closing shop this week after struggling to hold on to its high-powered clientele. The restaurant, which reopened less than a year ago, had once been a top destination for executives to strike deals. Its demise raises questions about the market for high-end dining as a prim and proper model falls out of favor with younger consumers' more casual tastes, while many professionals also prefer to eat at their desks. Okay, that will do it for another weekly dose of DFM, number 46. As always, thanks for checking us out. We would love if you would rate, review, and subscribe to the show. And please tell a friend. We're on all of the major podcast services: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google, Spreaker, Stitcher, YouTube, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud. Once again, the socials, Twitter and Instagram @DisruptiveFM are the handles. And read more in-depth content via our 3 sponsors: MicrosoftAdvertising.ai, BrandingStrategyInsider.com, and iographer.com. Next week, we're in the south of France for the International Festival of Creativity, Cannes Lions. Not 1, not 2, but 3 action-packed episodes with very special guests. You're not going to want to miss it. Until then, for everyone here at DFM, have a great week. I'm Jeffrey Colon. We'll catch you next time.
You've been listening to Disruptive FM with Microsoft Communications designer Jeffrey Colon. All thoughts are his own. Disruptive FM is produced in Los Angeles by Feeler Media.